startup ecosystem in Pakistan is key क्योंकि आपके जितने students हर साल graduate करते हैं, आपकी economy उनको absorb ही नहीं कर सकती है. So people have to get self-employed. People have to start creating their own businesses. 3%, 4% GDP economic rate cannot employ the 2+ million people who are graduating every year. On my left is Yassir Pasha. Yassir is the founder of 2 startups. One is called Tapmad, which is the OTT platform, which means you can watch all kind of television for free and other media on a subscription basis. And the other company that he's also co-founded is SimPaisa, one of the largest payment aggregators. On my right is Dr. Sara, who's very successfully created Sehat Kahani, a healthcare entity which is owned by female entrepreneurs, and we'll be talking to her. And then we have Jamshed. Jamshed is the founder and CEO of Trellis, which does low-cost housing. And given the theme of this particular event, low-cost housing is going to be something that's going to become very important given the number of people who are out of houses this year. So we're going to start with Dr. Sara. Dr. Sara, what inspired you to leave your normal practice? I assume you were a practicing doctor and then create Sehat Kahani.
Thank you, Nadeem, and thank you to everyone for being here. So while I was growing up in Pakistan, I belonged to a humble middle-class family, and my father had 2 sons before me. I was the only daughter and the third one. So when I was growing up, I think the only thing I remember him telling me when I was a young kid is I have to become a doctor. And that is a big norm for a lot of women in Pakistan who belong to families where families want their daughters to get educated, have money set off for them. And there is a term for it, it's called the doctor bride, because a lot of women become doctors in Pakistan, but then not a lot of women work after graduation. So stats say that we have around 245,000 doctors and 80% of our medical workforce is females. But unfortunately, only 40% of this number works. So when I became a medical doctor, as my father wanted, I saw that a lot of my peers and my friends started getting married and not working. And the same happened to me. So I got married right after my graduation, and because I got pregnant, I couldn't continue with my residency. So in my pregnancy, I started doing a small community clinic in Sultanabad, which is an urban slum in Karachi, right behind the US Embassy. And as I had my daughter, I shifted to Lahore. Now, when I went to Lahore in a very huge house with a new child, I suddenly was hit with very big episode of postpartum depression. And I realized that I actually had become the doctor bride who couldn't work anymore because I couldn't leave my child. So in that phase, I got a call from a nurse who used to work with me in Sultanabad, and she said that you've left and we couldn't find a doctor to replace you because it's a slum and not a lot of female doctors go there. So I started doing consultations on call with that nurse in that clinic. And later on, this was a very small, very old HP laptop, and she stuck a small webcam on the laptop, and we started doing video consultations. And from there, I realized that if I, being a doctor at home, can provide consultations to patients in far-off areas, why can't we create a virtual platform that can solve a problem for half of our country? Because हमारी आधी population कभी doctor तक पहुंच ही नहीं पाती. And a large problem for that is because we create a lot of female doctors who don't work and a lot of male doctors go out of the country for better work opportunities. तो आज अगर आप students देखें, अगर आप visa office जाएं तो आपको सबसे ज़्यादा medical students नज़र आते हैं because they all want to get out of Pakistan. So with that thought, we created Sehat Kahani, which is a digital healthcare platform that connects a network of online doctors, primarily female doctors, to patients who need healthcare using a chat, audio, and video consultation platform. In low-income areas, we upgrade traditional clinics to become telemedicine clinics. We train nurses in those clinics so they can connect the patient to online doctors. And for urban areas, we have an app that connects corporates and consumers to doctors directly. We've done 1.8 million consultations till date in the last 6 years and have a network of 7,500 doctors now.
I'm going to come back to you. Okay, great. That's a very inspiring story. Jamshed, I'm going to move to you. You happily and productively, and I assume from a compensation-wise, very well engaged by JP Morgan in the UK. What caused you, or what bit you to come back to the land of the pure, give all that up and start your own company?
Yeah, I definitely look back to that and still question myself every now and then. But I think it all boils down to a sense of fulfillment and purpose. To be honest with you, having accomplished all the things that I was set out to do in London in terms of work experience and getting the knowledge of working in a sort of a really good reputed financial institution, getting all the learnings on the back of that, doing all of the traveling that I wanted to in Europe, UK, US, of course. I think at some point in the back of my mind, it was always about wanting to give back to Pakistan somehow or the other. And I feel that actually this isn't something which goes away. It's not something which is unique to just myself. Thousands of people that actually leave Pakistan, as you were saying, for economic migration, still have that need to want to give back to Pakistan somehow or the other. And so from my perspective, my journey was that after having worked there for a period of 10 years or so, wanted to move back and focus on all the things that I'd worked on in finance and use that towards creating a social, like a financial institution that focuses on social development. So after doing a lot of research, housing came up as a very strong enabler for that social development, and that's why we founded Trellis ultimately.
So what does actually Trellis do?
So Trellis provides housing finance or mortgages to people in low-income and middle-income households. So typically, these would be providing loans for anywhere between 20 lakhs to, up to, we go up to 3 crores, but typically we focus on the low-income side of things. And we are partnering very actively with developers who are doing planned development for these types of households. So typically what you would expect to see for 50, 60 lakhs is that, these are people who would be able to afford something in a slum area or in an unplanned development area. But we don't want to focus, or we don't want to promote development of those. We want to instead focus on planned development. And so we provide housing finance for those types of solutions.
Great. Yassir, you're another example of somebody who was doing very well outside, in the UK, a quant trader, making millions of dollars.
I don't know.
Yeah, okay. So I know about that. Okay. So suddenly you're back again in Pakistan, not only founded one company, but 2 companies. How was your journey? Was it fulfilling? What were your challenges?
Thank you, Mr. Nadeem Husain. Basically, I think like Jamshed, so after having spent a long time abroad, there's a certain itch you want to scratch, right? You want to come back and you want to do something for Pakistan. And I think when there was a big reverse brain drain going on for a while, I think that there's almost like an inverse happening. And a large part has to do with the development in the tech sector, right? I mean, investment banking and things and being a lawyer and things like that were very kind of the hot thing to do when 20 years ago. But a lot of those people, a lot of that intellect has shifted towards tech, towards AI, towards machine learning, towards development of disruption technology. I think I couldn't name the number of colleagues of mine that left investment banking or very large, well-paid roles in the sector, financial sector, and thought, well, this is not being done well enough. Let's move in. It's such a big field, but it's been kind of controlled by behemoth incumbents. And then the key was to really try to get disruption happening in various spaces, whether it's cross-border treasury work or whether it's, low-income housing loans or whether it's, consumer lending. There's as you know better than anyone, disruption happening in small silos within the huge financial sector. And so I don't think it's uncommon for someone from our background to want to move to that. It's just looking at Pakistan, there's a sea of change, and I think you were the first. When I came back, I think I was about to switch the lights off and leave, but having met you, I think you were one of the first investors in the startup space in Pakistan, and I think I was your first investment actually, right? And so I think that kept me here and going, and I think I've seen that. Why not do the disruption in Pakistan? Disruption is available anywhere where the people aren't doing the initial work well enough, right? So there seems to be a lot of spaces in Pakistan where that can happen, and there's a sea of change happening where I think startups have a great opportunity to make improvements where conventional banks have not, as you well know.
Sarah, I'm constantly looking for female entrepreneurs and companies led by female entrepreneurs to invest in, because we have a specific huge gender imbalance with the group companies that Planet N has. What are the challenges for being a female founder, and what are the challenges specifically? Are there any? I'm sure there are, for being female and having to establish your own company, and then getting the connections you want, and then finally I'll come back to second round about raising funds.
See, I think if you want to finger count how many female entrepreneurs are there in Pakistan today, you can do that. They're very, very less a number. And I think it starts from when you have an idea. So a lot of females in Pakistan, because of the kind of environment that we grow in, do not trust themselves when they have an idea. They don't trust themselves to get out and talk to 10 or 15 people about it and constantly hustle to find people to believe in. So many of them stop there. Then there comes a group which is a little larger that do trust their instinct that we can do this, and they gather initial funding from families and friends and they pilot the idea. And you'll find a lot of them. You'll find a lot of females who enter incubators and accelerators and community-led accelerators and industry accelerators, and they want to pilot an idea and they grow it to like maybe 10, 15, 20 people. But the real challenge happens after that. You won't find a lot of women who are able to grow their business in Pakistan. And I think that is where the real challenge happens. I think female leadership is questioned when they go into meetings. People don't feel comfortable talking to them in corporate circles. I think the playing field is not level because a lot of conversations that happen in Pakistan, women are not a part of them. It's not easy for a woman to enter a dinner after 9 or 10 p.m. for a lot of women in Pakistan and have those conversations that men can have. Then the network that is available to the male counterparts, I don't think a lot is available to females. I myself have faced a lot of these issues when I have been in corporate meetings and I've been asked कि आपके पीछे कौन है? आप किसी बड़े को लेकर आइएगा next time. Who's actually running the show behind you? So I think there isn't enough trust in female leadership when it comes to financials and big scale growth businesses. There is a bias in financial funding also, and I think they don't get the equal opportunity to network as much as men can do in Pakistan. I think that is why. And then there's a whole scenario where where people think that women who run businesses, they can't give equal time to families. And a lot of women just give up in that struggle before it goes to that stage where it can actually make scaled impact.
Great. Yassir, your company's raised money outside Pakistan. In the last, let's take the previous year, before that, in 5 years, Pakistan as an industry had only raised $100 million. Last year we raised $380 million. We had 82 deals. This year it's come down to 55 deals and $304 million. We've got a month left. So what are you seeing in the market? Is there a global scarcity for investments, or are you seeing something peculiar to Pakistan of VCs coming in to invest?
No, I think that's a very good point. I think that this is going to be a challenging next 1 or 2 years, right? I mean, not just for the Pakistani general economy, as you well know, but I think for the tech sector to raise money at early stage capital is going to be particularly difficult, I think. We're seeing that as you get to a certain size and quantum as well, like when you go past Series A to Series B round, those kind of rounds are going to be very challenging, I think. People are struggling to put $10 million ticket sizes or $20 million ticket sizes into esoteric countries like Pakistan, which haven't really got a strong developed track record of exiting businesses, IPOing businesses. Venture capital is still, I guess, not proven itself to be a successful alternative asset class in Pakistan as of yet. I think the jury's still out. I mean, it's clearly worked everywhere else. It's going to happen here. Unfortunately, as we were growing, part of the journey is that you need to keep being able to have access to capital to get past those initial challenging stages of the business in disruption, which can take 5 years plus. It's unfortunate that we've had a global economic slowdown, especially in the tech sector, which will starve a lot of companies for capital, which will create some bankruptcies. But it's part of any cycle, and I think the strong will survive, and people will focus on their bottom lines. And the companies that are in the right space and are profitable somewhere on the Series A level, that have shown some growth and ability to scale, will continue to, I think, raise capital. But yes, it will be challenging. But I think people are starting to look at the bottom line rather than top line, and I think that's always healthy for businesses. So, yeah.
Jamshed, same question to you. There has been a decrease overall in the deal size in Pakistan. You also raised money from international VCs, just like Sara is as well. You all three have been successful in actually demonstrating or getting the faith of. But now it's becoming more tough from what I understand. What are you seeing the challenges in the next 12 to 18 months for the startup ecosystem in Pakistan?
So I think in terms of attracting funds into Pakistan Pakistan has always been a challenging economy to basically raise funds for. I think in the context of it being a frontier market, the volatility, I think the volatility is basically what kills us. To be honest with you, if you have an investor who's sitting abroad and they have the choice of being able to invest in Egypt or Indonesia or any other country where you have, stable policies with regards to FX, interest rates, all of those things, why would anyone want to take that, and of course political sort of situations as well, why would anyone want to take that risk with Pakistan, even despite the size of the economy, right? I think that's the biggest issue that I see with foreign investments into Pakistan. So if you create that sort of element of stability in the economy, then I do think over time that will basically bear fruit, and you will see sort of more institutional funding coming in from international sort of players. I think from our perspective, we have to keep, despite the situation that we're in, we have to focus on with making do with what we have, right? So local banks and DFIs have been organizations that we previously have completely discounted and actually just, not even bothered with actually going and speaking to. And I think that's something that we as a community, I think also as a startup community, need to change that mindset, because it might be that we have to literally shove the value proposition down their throat and keep on doing it to the point where they realize that yes, there is value in actually investing or sort of collaborating with another financial institution, that no, it's not just about empire building and sort of growing their own name, that maybe it is more about sort of maximizing their own shareholder value at the end of the day. So I feel that is something that we need to be focusing on more as a startup community over the next 12 to 18 months, because frankly that's the only capital we have.
Sara, again, you are one of the few female entrepreneurs. I'm sorry to keep bringing the gender thing, because and the reason I'm bringing it up is because it's unusual, and I want to be able to help and assist and educate people as to the challenges that female entrepreneurs face and whatever we can do. You were also successful in raising money. What was your journey? What were some of the perils you felt as a successful founder of a very, very, I think a strong company which is going to go places? What were the challenges in just raising money and then again from the gender lens?
So I think I've raised two rounds of funding, and I think there are initial biases as to what the business can be successful. I don't think it's a gender thing. I think it happens to every business. There are questions when you're raising your seed round. It is difficult to raise money as a Pakistani founder with a Pakistani passport, with a company which is established and serving within Pakistan. And that's, I think, it's gender neutral. As you grow bigger, I think for me, raising a pre-series A round was easier as compared to a seed, but now raising a series A round in the midst of this financial instability is extremely difficult. And all the investors that I talked to, and I've talked to a lot of investors in this round, I think their issues have now come out of the gender lens, but their issues focus very specifically on the future of Pakistan. So just, I think 2 days before, an investor asked me, and he's from India, he lives in Singapore, and he's like, even if I take out the fact that I'm an Indian, how would you guarantee that the money that I place within Pakistan, I will be able to take it out after 5 years? Can you give me a definite yes or no answer? And my answer was not sure. Because you can create a holdco outside Pakistan and keep money there, but what are you going to do when you have to give dividends to investors after some years? How will you take that money out? There is no consistency. So I think now, as the gentleman said, I think investors are focusing on the bottom line, on companies who can reach sustainability soon, who are less cash flow burn dependent, who are minimizing their cash flow burn month on month. But overall, I think females having issues in raising funding is not just a Pakistan issue. Even globally, only 4% of female founders raise money as compared to male founders. So I think there is a definite kind of unsaid bias that happens when you're talking to a female-led company. So that is still there. But in my experience, I've seen that the situation becomes better as you grow bigger, you have more patients or clients. And I think in our case, the country instability trumps the gender factor.
Okay, just as a side, under the FX regulation, State Bank of Pakistan, all dividends are repatriable, 100% capital is repatriable. So there may be a delay, but there is no regulation which says repatriation of capital can't take place. And therefore, given where we have right now, there are delays happening, but we've made significant, payments outside successfully and seen that happen as well. Anyway, those are things that are going to be challenged. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring it to a close. We have 3 very successful entrepreneurs over whose companies have done very well and has been validated by what I call price round. That means outside investors have valued the business and put money in the business rather than the people who come and pitch at me every day and say my company is valued X with no price discovery. So a big round of applause for these 3 young entrepreneurs. Thank you. Thank you.